All right.
We're live. Hey guys.
Hello, we got Brandon and Sarah here, and we are the Harmonious Duo. We wanted to thank you for taking time out of your day to come and visit with us today, just hang out. Now, the big reason why you are here, the big reason why we wanted to be in front of you was to share with you some ways to work with and to work better with the difficult people that you're going to find in your business. Now, there's no way of avoiding this. You're going to have these folks. Now, what do we do with this when we run across certain individuals? That's what we're going to share with you today. There's certain strategies that you can actually take to communicate with these difficult people who are probably frustrating the hell out of you right now. And we know this first case. And so when we go through this list of people with you guys, we kind of want you to, for one, locate your target, who it is that you're trying to speak to, and figure out where are you spending your majority of the time on which one of these people, as well as figuring out which one of these people are you? Okay, because I mean, let's just be honest. We have some points in our life, and you might not be any one of these people. You might be through that difficult period in your life where you're kind of figuring out who you are and how to talk to people, and you've gotten some extreme knowledge in you. Because I'm telling you that even some of these, I still find myself.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yes, very much so.
So I mean, like when we don't find ourselves to be difficult people, but there's things that we do that make us difficult sometimes, Yeah, and so that's what we want to talk with you today about, is how to get through that so that the difficult people in the world won't stop you from making any more money in your business, because we definitely know that there is no avoiding the difficult people. So before we get into that, why don't you share a little bit about your story about why we are in front of you guys right now and what you had to do to make the powerful decision?
Well, for starters, I prior to making the decision to start this business with Brandon, I was a stay-at-home mom. I mean, I still am. That's one of the beautiful benefits of the decision that we had made. But, I was a stay-at-home mom, and, Brandon was out being the one who brought home the bacon. And it was really nice for me. Like, don't get me wrong, because when we got together, like I had made the decision, we had made the decision together that,
Thanks for inviting me to that. Yeah. I appreciate that.
But it was really important that, because Brandon saw the value in having a stay-at-home mom. I saw the value because I knew it firsthand growing up with my older sister, what it did for us, having our mom stay at home for us for as long as she did. And so we both came together and we're like, well, if that's what you want, Brandon was totally supportive of it. He thought that was a great idea. And we had this kind of, I guess, glamorized notion of how that would go for us, because he's like, well, I'll make the money. You'll, we'll raise the family together, but you'll be a big influence because we won't have to put her in daycare. Everything will be great, no problems whatsoever. And we quickly realized that is not at all what was going to happen. And it just got to the point, where I told Brandon that we were expecting Savannah, and it really threw him for a loop. It threw both of us for a loop, just to be honest with you, because at that time that I realized I was pregnant, I was just a private nanny making $150 to maybe $250 a week watching 3 kids.
I don't even think it was that much, to be honest.
Yeah, I really don't either. It was supposed to be that much.
And there were always $75 a week.
Yeah, there was always some sort of reason why my hours were never fulfilled all the way to
the end of the week.
Yeah. Anyway. And so,
there's no point in her being there, is what I'm trying to say. I try to let her know that you make it $200 a month or something like that. There's no reason for you to be out of here.
It was bad. It was bad. And so he was just like, well, you can feel free to do that as long as you want, or as long as you're able to. But, just know that I fully support if you just want to stop working now and prepare for the baby. And I ended up working pretty much up until my 3rd trimester, and then I stopped. And
did you?
Yeah. It didn't really seem like I was still working because, again, I was all of my days kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But yeah, so we hit this point where I was no longer working. I was staying home. I was focusing on our newborn, and Brandon was playing poker, making our money. But it was very difficult for him to make consistent money because he was always so focused on what was happening at the house. What do I need? What does Savannah need? Just wanting to be there with us. And, of course he wanted to be there because, he was spending at that point, 18 hours a day sometimes at the poker tables trying to make money so that we can pay our bills and, do the things that we have to take care of financially.
Live that freedom lifestyle, right? 18 hours to live free?
That we think, yeah. Like I said, very glamorized notions here, people. And yeah,
I had a great time.
It got very difficult when things were a fight where, you know, because our financial struggles, they hit a really difficult spot. And for a long time, you know, we just like kind of toughed through it. And we kept saying, okay, well, the next session is going to be better. The next session is going to be better. The next session is going to be better. And it was like, no matter what Brandon did, no matter, you know, how he would go and train for like upgrading his skills for the tables, like no matter what he did, it was like, he just like couldn't catch a break. You know what I mean? And then if he
I never
did,
used those terms. I know.
Man, that's why I air quote
percentages were not on my side. But
no,
yes.
But yeah, and it just got really difficult for me because of the fact that even though I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, I still wanted to contribute financially to the house. And at that moment, the only thing we knew of was it was either one or the other. You could either be a stay-at-home parent or you could be like a worker. It was like one of the two. You couldn't have income coming in as a stay-at-home mom. And so that was like a very difficult internal battle that I dealt with for a long time because I wanted to contribute to the house because things were really stressful for us. And, you know, because let's face it, like babies they're not cheap. And no, and so, yeah, I just remember there were like a lot of nights where Brandon would wake up in the middle of the night having these like intense nightmares. And I would be like off in my corner of the bed, like hurtled under the covers, trying to stifle my cries because I'm sitting there thinking about, am I going to have to put Savannah in daycare so I can go get a job just so I can help, you know, bring in some sort of stable income? Like that's where we were at. The fact that I was even contemplating, you know, and of course I brought this to his attention. I was like, you know, do I need to go do that? Because if I need to, like I will. I don't want you to have to go and do something you don't want to do. I know like poker is your thing. Like that's what you want to do. That's where you want to focus. So I'm not going to go say, hey, go get a job like a real one. You know, I'll go do that if it'll help. And he was like, him being the man that he is and knowing what he wanted for his family, he was very much against that. He's like, we're not gonna put Savannah in daycare. Like we're gonna make this work. We just have to stick through it. And it just got to a point where things were so stressful for us that we were crying a lot. And Brandon was having nightmares all the time. He would wake up in cold sweats. And we just had this like giant dead weight hanging over our shoulders. And it seemed like at that moment for us was when an opportunity presented itself.
For sure. We were ready for it. We were ready to receive it. You know what I mean? We were at that breaking point where we just went through a decade basically of, before we met each other, mind you, of working in the restaurant industry, doing things that paid minimum wage. And together, I think combined, when we first met each other in the restaurant business, when we met each other, we were making combined total, I think $50 a day.
Yeah.
And so when you get from, when you see that all the time, it's really gross. It is gross. And when you go from, this is one thing that I always laugh about, because I went from like $25 a day in the restaurant game to like, we're upwards of losing a couple thousand at the poker table. You know, what would you rather do? Would you rather go to work and make 25 or go to work and lose 2,000? You know what I mean? Like, and I say that with I say that with a smile now, because, you know, we've been able to substantiate or to substitute that, you know? And so now if I wanted to go and play, what we've been able to do, the reason why we're here, our business has allowed me to where it's actually beneficial for me to go and play, whether I lose or not, because of the way that we've turned our passions into something that we can build a business around. And so my passion has always been, like she said, the poker. And when she and I came across this opportunity after we had our backs broke because of how we were basically going through, 10 years of our life, being 25 when we met each other and she was 24, it just was like, okay, well, this is like half of our life already. And I think
it's like nothing to show for it.
We had nothing. So there was something wrong. You know, the one thing that our mentor likes to say is we had to ask ourselves, who sold us on that plan? You know, we didn't know who was the main influence on our money saving decisions, on our money budgeting decisions, on anything like that. We didn't know who we had allowed to tell us what to do. Do you see what I'm saying? Because everybody right now is living a philosophy that you bought, whether you want to believe that or not. Yeah. Somebody has sold you a philosophy that you've bought into, and that's why you live the life the way you do. And so we discovered that philosophy that we bought was sour. We needed to return to sender. You know what I mean? Like we needed to start new. And that was really the route that we took, was taking advantage of the opportunity that we're going to give you an opportunity to take advantage of at the end of this. But the one thing that we've noticed in the first 18 months of us doing business is that we were all of these people. And I point over here because we have a thing over here on the screen that we're,
Yeah.
kind of
We
reading
have
off. This is a
notes to
lot of
keep us-
information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we
Oh,
were
yeah.
all of these people. And at
Sometimes
one
all
point,
at once.
yeah. And you could notice that at the beginning of your business, or even if right now, if you're a seasoned vet, if you're not seeing the results that you need to see, you might not be communicating the best way with the people who are more difficult than you are. And that's the whole thing, is we understand that they are more difficult than you. That's not the argument. We're not saying that you are the reason or you're the problem, but you kind of are, because you're not communicating well enough.
I was gonna say, basically, if you take a second and you be real with yourself and you look around and you see that everyone in your circle, like that, if you realize no one in your circle that you deal with the majority of your time, if they're like all easygoing people, like none of them are difficult, then guess what? That means you're the difficult person in the group.
That's true. Yeah. Look around and be like, oh, I'm surrounded by all these angels. Yeah.
Yeah, like all these great people, they're so easy to work with. They're so fun to like build teams with. And then if you realize like, oh, wait a second, hold on. If everyone else is easy to work with, then that means you are the difficult person, and you've got room. You all that means is that you just have a little bit of work. You just have a little bit of room to grow.
And that's why we're here today, is because, like I said, we've noticed and we've discovered, we've tapped into how we can communicate to people who were just like us, because that is one thing that we like to do, is relate to people who are like us. But when you look at somebody who is, who you kind of judge, and they're doing things like, oh, I wouldn't do that. But then you go back and you do that. It's just, it messes up your psyche to know who it is that you want to talk to, what message you want to put out. It just mumble jumbles all this stuff that you got in here. And so we want to help you clear all that stuff out today. Okay. And so now that you know a little bit about us, the way to find difficult people and their behavior.
Well, before we actually give you that, there's in a book that Brandon was reading called The Art of Persuasion.
The art, yeah.
Yeah, right. The Art of Persuasion. He was saying that he found a statistic in there that said that the number one reason, and he asked me this the other day, and I actually had no idea. I thought it was like for pay. He asked me if I knew the number one reason why people who leave their jobs, like why they leave their jobs and go seek employment elsewhere. And of course, my first thought was, oh, well, obviously it's got to be the pay. Like the pay sucks. And through the statistics, he found that this book shared that survey after survey that they went through, that the number one reason why a person will willingly give up a well-paying job that provides cush benefits is because they're trying to escape the difficult people that they have to deal with at that workplace. Like what they're making, the security and the financial, like all of the abilities that they're getting access to from being paid well is not worth having to deal with the difficult people they deal with. So they'll happily go and seek out lower paying employment just to get away from these difficult people, which I think is absolutely crazy.
And it says a lot about your business, because I know that we know it's very difficult to build a team in this industry. And when you have people that are going from, opportunity to opportunity and, not really staying focused and doing things like that, it might not be because of the lack of focus. It might be because of the difficult people that they just keep encountering with. And you could actually be that person that gets them to stay in their first legitimate business for longer than 6 months, because you know how to communicate with them, and you can actually get them out of that difficult time into a place where they can add value and provide a value to the world to where they're not difficult anymore. That's kind of the whole reason of us being here today.
Most people like when we've noticed in group chats or in, like private conversations, stuff like that, that a lot of people are like, they're jumping ship from company to company, because when they get put into a team or a group, it might not be the leader, but there's a lot of team members within that specific community that fall into one, if not all of these 8 categories or types of difficult people that we'll share with you later. And it's just so overwhelming and honestly so stressful that these people don't even want to be a part of the business anymore, and are willing to go and look like someone who's unfocused, who's got the shiny ball syndrome, who is just like going after numbers, when in reality, like 8 times out of 10, it's most likely they just left because there was too much difficult people to deal with and they just didn't know how to handle it.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, if they had this information right here, they would have stayed in those first opportunities just to see the results. Now, if the results didn't bring in what they had wanted after doing everything that they were taught, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Maybe the system didn't work. Maybe the leadership wasn't there, whatever it may be, the training sucked, whatever it was, but you gave it time. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're trying to get with people to do more often in the teams that we are building, is helping them get through that rough patch of getting called or being labeled as difficult, because we we don't like to work with difficult people. So we can only assume how difficult it
No.
could be to.
We have enough of that with our 2-year-old daughter.
Yeah,
we don't
it gets
we don't really
crazy.
need that with like our team members. But yeah, so to help you guys out with kind of get like a clear focus of the direction of this conversation, where it's going to go is first off to just be honest with what contributes to struggles with difficult people, because most oftentimes, you know, think about it. Think back to like an experience you had when you were working in like corporate America, for example, and you had someone who you viewed as a difficult person. How many times did you actually go and deal with that person? Not very many. Most likely you do what everybody else does, which is what we've done a lot of times, and we're totally guilty of it too. And it's we go and vent to our friends and our family about these irritating coworkers, and we do like nothing about it. But what happens if you like dissect all of that is it basically just comes down to 2 factors that play into a person having a difficult situation, and it's expectations and questions of boundaries. Have you set personal, physical, and emotional boundaries? If one of these is not in place, or if like one of these are out of balance, then you're going to find that you're encountering a heck of a lot more difficult people than you need to deal with. And a lot of times when it comes to expectations, right, we look at certain people, we look at our coworkers, we look at our team members, or our clients even, or even our spouses, and we put people on these pedestals. We put people on these specific labels, because of the fact that either we revere them, we respect them, or we love them, right? And it's not like we're doing it to punish ourselves so we can be disappointed later.
Even though we are gluttons.
Yeah, that's true. But when you have an expectation of someone or something, you're giving yourself a much greater opportunity for major disappointment as well as friction. Because if Brandon looks at me a specific way and he's got certain expectations,
like a queen,
I'm okay with that one. But if he's got certain expectations that he either hasn't even voiced to me, or he has voiced to me, but I'm not trying to be that, you know, then what happens is he gets disappointed. And if he's disappointed, then that causes friction between us. And that's where, as cliche as it sounds, you know, it takes friction to cause a fire. That's exactly where struggle comes from. It starts with the friction from the over expectations.
There you go.
I just can't.
So how do you deal with these expectations? How do we do them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to be honest, right, with the fact that you have these expectations of other people, and you have to realize, okay, what is it about this person that I think they should be doing, acting, or talking like that they really just aren't? You know, who are they really? And simply go to the source. Like, that's one thing that, as far as Brandon and I go personally, he's really good with coming to me and being like, hey, I had this expectation of you and it didn't happen. And so here's how I feel about it. And then
which I feel is healthy.
Yeah. Whereas me, like, I'm still working on my, you know, I'm a very naturally introverted person. So, you know, I kind of like go quiet. Right. And so instead of being very open about those things, I'm the type of person who will let expectations cause a lot of friction, right? Because of the fact that I won't go to the source, because I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I don't want to feel like, I don't want them to think I'm judging them, you know? And so that can kind of cause difficulty between us two, because of the fact that that's where I am with my expectations. So expectations, you've got to be willing to just, suck it up and go to the source. So, and that's something that I'm working on. That's something I hope I'm getting better with, which is, you know, going to Brandon if ever I feel like an expectation I had of him, whether it was personal or professional, wasn't being met.
Right. That's what I was going to say. This happens the same thing for your business. So it's not just, we're not just giving you like relational advice right now. This is actually in essence the same thing that you would handle, the same way you would handle it with your team, with your prospects, or whatever it is. And that's just a very clear point to get across, is that these things that we're teaching you, for those who were tuned in yesterday, you guys know that this stuff can be used for not only your business, but for also your marriage, your relation, your kids, whatever it is kind of relationship that you want to build on, because it's universal principles.
Yeah. And if you've got something going on wrong, or, you know, it's something that's causing frictions or difficulties in your personal life, it's going to bleed over into your business and vice versa. So you got to make sure that a lot of the advice that we share with you, that you're applying to both ends of the spectrum, so that everything can be in harmony with each other. So you can have that like copacetic lifestyle. You don't have like all these difficult situations. And plus, going to the source, one of the things that it does is, like, most of the time, difficult people don't even realize they're being difficult. So if you're never going to go,
25 years.
if you're never going to go and tell someone that their behavior is making them a difficult person to be around, how are they ever going to know any better? So if you want them to change, you know, you've got to do them the favor of telling them, hey, you're being really difficult and I'm not liking it. Like, can we work on this, please?
And I want to just share a story real quick. Is I was actually in, this is a very personal story. I was in, we were in, what hotel was that in Miami? Our very first event, or Orlando.
Oh yes, Miami. Yeah, that was Miami.
Okay, and one of my friend who actually, my good friend who actually presented this opportunity to me, who I thank for, you know, endlessly for that. But we were in a hotel room at our first event, and the other reason why I bring this up is because I myself had, I didn't realize that I was being so difficult. And like she mentioned, most of the people that are don't realize that. And for about, this was what, a year and a half ago. And so for the previous, previously for me being 25 to 26 up until, or from 18 to like 26, I had no clue that I was a difficult person. And then I had this conversation with with a good friend of mine in a hotel room at an event. And he said to me, because I had mentioned that nobody is listening and everybody seems to just be against me. It's just like he felt like people were attacking what he was saying. And they just weren't listening. And it was so difficult, right? Yeah. It was so difficult to talk to. It was slightly explosive. And I'm just going to be honest. It was extremely explosive. And I lost it. And I was like, look, everybody. And I lost it. And I said the word everybody. And then he sat me down. And this is why. I think you even actually left the room. I did. I broke down because it's a profound thing that he did to me. He sat me down. He showed me that he cared for one. And that's what people who don't know that they're being difficult, they need people to show that they care. And when you pull somebody aside and you sit them down and you say, hey, look, man, this is what's going on. It shows them that you care, which will provide the spark that will initiate the change. Yeah. That's what they're looking for. Because what he did for me is he sat me down and he said to me, look, man, and I've known this. It can't ever be everybody else. Not everybody else can be wrong. Everybody else cannot be wrong. I'm talking about everybody. When you use the word everybody, you need to look at yourself. He's not being dramatic when he uses that term. Like, no, and you have to look back at yourself. And so he said, look, man, he was like, that should tell you something about who you are and how you're communicating. And I was like, it made me swallow me up, you know, because I took that personal, right? Because I was still fired up. And so you get hot. But then he said it again, and he said it just like in a way that was like hitting me that, you know what? It's you. You're the difficult one, bro. You know what I mean? And now you know. And now you know, because nobody for 25 years, me getting in the fist fights, me getting in the arguments, me getting in the whatever it was that I had been through in my whole childhood up until that led me to that moment, was people that would just go and say, I don't care enough about this man to say something to him, or I don't care enough about the problem. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what I had finally found out, that the moment that you can get that person to say, you're difficult as hell. Like, you need to work on some shit. Yeah. Like, once you can get someone to say that to you, if you do not blow up and you take that with everything that it's worth and you say, you know what? I respect your opinion, man, and I need to really take it. Exactly. Your life will change at that moment. And I'm speaking full example of that. You know what I mean? That was a very intense. It was a life-changing moment. A very intense evening for us in that hotel room. And honestly, a lot of the change in as far as communication with him goes, I can accredit to that evening. And one thing that he mentioned that I want to highlight is that he was talking about how when his friend took him and sat him, you know, they went outside of the room where the argument was escalating because there were other people around. He separated him from the group. They sat down, they were eye level with each other, and he took the time to show him that he cared. Something that's really important that, you know, because most of us, what happens when we engage with difficult people, we just totally brush them off because like that's like our security, like defense system. Because we're just like, okay, whoa, like this is too much for me. Like, not even gonna try. You know what I mean? And it's most often because those people that are on the other side who are being viewed as difficult, they're difficult to us, when in reality, that person is simply behaving that way because there's something in their lives. There's something inside them that's broken because there was either a tragedy that happened in their life that they haven't gotten over. They're still carrying with them. There's some sort of emotional scar that they haven't been able to heal on their own. And they've spent so much time surrounded by people who just brush them off, who just label them as something other than what they are, that they've come to find that it's easier to just behave in that way
than it is to act in any other manner, because no one else is taking the time to recognize that difficult people are just broken people, and they need someone to show that they really care, not just to get them out of their hair, but they really care about getting to the root of the problem at what's causing this person to behave that way.
That's right. And so did you go into the boundaries yet?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
The second thing that caused, conflict and struggle with difficult people is boundaries. We talked about that a second ago. Boundaries, like, I know this sounds cliche. A lot of people that I talk with this about, who are outside of our specific entrepreneurial community, they call it psychobabble. And they kind of just like dismiss it. But honestly, like, if you've ever heard someone say, like, you're crossing my boundaries, what they're saying is that there's certain physical and emotional or psychological lines that they've placed in the sand that they would not appreciate if you overstep that boundary. There's certain things that they want to keep to themselves, and there's certain things that they want you to keep to yourself. And when you cross over these boundaries, that's where you're going to get a lot of issues.
That's right.
Psychologists, they actually say that psychological and emotional boundaries are vital, absolutely vital to a person's overall well-being. So if you think about it, one of the first things that a person who goes into therapy is told or is asked is, what are the boundaries you've set that people are breaking? And most times people have no answer to this question because they've never had to think about setting boundaries, or they've never realized that that was something that was missing. So if you want to have like a well-oiled business machine or well-oiled personal relationship with someone, you take the time to set your personal, physical, and emotional boundaries. A couple of examples of crossing boundaries that can cause a lot of friction and turn someone into a difficult person would be like say you have a personal assistant and you go away for a week on a business meeting, and you come to find out that assistant has been using your office and your desk and like using your workspace without your permission. Like, that, just thinking about that makes my teeth grind. Like, that just makes me like break out into hives. Like, don't do that. And then, like, another one would be, say, like a business employee constantly interrupting your meetings, even though you've expressed to them these are important. When the door is closed, unless someone's dying in the hallway, like, don't interrupt me. But they keep doing it anyway. Another one would be like a partner of yours agreeing to a specific deal or committing to an arrangement with another business without even consulting you first. Like, I know with him, that would not be good.
Yeah. Or my favorite, a spouse going through your emails or your text messages. Now, I get buddies that actually pretend like that's okay. I get buddies who actually say like, "Oh no, that's fine. I just hand it over."
Yeah, there was actually a conversation at a party we went to where where he told me that somehow it got into conversation that one of his friends, ladies or spouses or whatever, that she always goes through his phone. She's always going through his emails and his texts and his call logs to see like what he's doing and who he's doing it with. And he's like, that's not normal. And he had asked Brandon, he's like, well, what are you talking about? Like, your girl does that too, right? No. He's like, in fact, I believe your actual response was, we've got boundaries. And if she wants to go through my phone, all she's got to do is ask.
That's very true. I mean, that's what it should be like. I mean, if you have problems or questions or something, I mean, there's no reason to be sneaky about it. And that's why boundaries are being crossed, is because it's like, the information is there, but yet you don't pay attention to it. And so that's where you cross that line.
Yeah.
And so when we get into right now, you have some awesome notes. Hopefully you guys are finding this really valuable. We're about to get into the actual people now. Okay,
yeah,
so these are the types of difficult people that you have to be aware of, that are going to, no matter what you do, you cannot market around it, are going to enter into your business. They're going to want to work with you.
Yep.
And if you want to be in business, you're going to have to figure out how to take them from being difficult by talking their language to getting them to understanding a better way. That is the way that you do things in your business, that will not allow them to cross any boundaries, which will then keep them from being difficult.
Exactly.
So the first one here, why don't you take this one?
Oh, thank you.
You know that she loves this one. This is hers right here, because you'll see why. You'll see why.
It's the procrastinator.
Yes.
And I will be honest, I'll be transparent. That's totally me. That's probably 80% of the people out there. Yeah. And it's crazy because like most people don't even realize that they are, like, they will not admit that they're a procrastinator. Like for the longest time when we first got together, he's like, honey, I love you, but you procrastinate. I'm like, no, I don't. I just make sure that I have everything I need before I do it. He's like, that's procrastinating. But I think that you should take the second one.
I should. But what should you never do? Okay, so what should you never do for procrastinators? Now, if you're working with procrastinators in your business, now this is going to be a difficult thing because we're not here to be the hype man. We're not here to just motivate people every single day. If you don't want to work in your business, you got to be real with
the dark side that comes with
if you don't want to do your business work, if you don't want to work on it, make it successful, you got to have your why strong enough to get you every morning. Don't count on your sponsor, your person who brought you into the industry, or your boss or whoever it is to get you up every morning and go, hey, did you wake up yet? Did you brush your teeth? Are you on your way to work? Like that doesn't happen.
Do you need me to pump you up before you get into the office?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen. And so you should never, what should you do?
Yeah, so when it comes to procrastinators, first of all, if you think you have a procrastinator that you're dealing with, pay attention to these types of behaviors. Do they avoid making decisions? Do they wait until the last minute to start a project or a task?
Even if they use the excuse that I work well under pressure, that's a procrastinator excuse.
Yeah, yes. Are they constantly looking for one thing that we've discovered from this book that we're reading is that procrastinators, what they're doing is they're whether they realize or not, they're constantly looking, and this one kind of made my stomach turn since this one is where I fall most of the time, but they're constantly looking for the downside in the decision that they have to make. Like they're always focusing on the cons rather than the pros. And usually procrastinators, they're procrastinating out of wanting to avoid making mistakes. And that's totally me. Like I want everything to be perfect when it goes out. So I will sacrifice like being on time for perfection, which is basically procrastination. Exactly. So one of the things that you should never do with a procrastinator, Brandon, is show that you're frustrated with this person, right? And it's super easy to show that you're frustrated with the procrastinator because let's face it, they're annoying. I know. And you do that with both your tone and your body language, or at least one of the other. Maybe you've got your tone on check, but your body language is screaming that you just want to punch him in the face.
Well, type A personalities like myself, it's very difficult. When you get with a procrastinator, all you want to do is you want to see results. You're just like, you know what, get moving. Yeah,
I don't care about the process. Where's the end result?
Just pick up your
feet. So with procrastinators, that like kind of overwhelms them, right? Because they're forced to make a quick decision, and procrastinators supposedly function on slow decisions. So one of the things that you should never do is show that you're frustrated with them, right? What you should do instead is be empathetic. And we talked about this yesterday and the day before. Be empathetic so that you can get to the root of their decision.
Yes.
Because there's the reason they're indecisive. It's not because they're trying to be difficult. It's not because they're doing it because they know it annoys you. There's a cause, there's a root that's keeping them from making a decision. And it's your job as a leader in your team or your company, whatever, to get to the root of this issue through empathy. And then you want to go ahead and be sympathetic towards them, because recognizing that procrastinators go through an extremely overwhelming mental process to make a decision, totally from experience, it helps to be sympathetic if you recognize that whatever it is that's going on in their head is causing them to stall. So if you can be sympathetic towards that and saying like, you know what, I recognize you're having a hard time making a decision. What can I do to help you make that decision faster? Let's work on it together.
Better than that. I work different than that. Okay. So if I'm working with a procrastinator, I'm not going to walk you through that. I'm going to have you answer a series of questions on your own time and then come back to me with those answers.
Yeah.
That's a big difference than what, so I'm just like with the way that we work, sometimes you might get that, sometimes you might get me, but either way, we're here to help you. And we know that working with procrastinators can be very difficult, but we also know that there's going to be procrastinators in every business, and the people who are moving the numbers in your business are the ones that you're going to be spending your time with. So you will get to work with these folks. It's just not going to be as often as the people who are actually out there taking action.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're gonna get their time with you. It's most likely going to be with free meetings and things like that you put out there, because they're going to work on
until they're willing to go from a procrastinator to an action taker.
Right.
They'll stick with like the team environments versus the personal environments. Yeah. But I think you should definitely take number 2.
The number 2 most, I don't even know if we're going in order with most to least, but the number 2 difficult person that we're going to talk about today is the explosive. Now, this is something that, yes, of course. Now, people's backgrounds and histories and the way that they were brought up, the way that they link experiences to one another, that's all going to basically make them who they are, right? So me personally, with the way that I went through everything in my life, I was a very, you know what, if I was pained, I'm gonna hopefully get someone else to feel the pain that I felt, right? Now, a lot of people out there can understand that, and it's not a healthy way to live life. I'm just gonna be quite honest with you. It took me a long time to break through from that. But having that inside your business is going to ruin you. You will not be able to succeed if you are the explosive type. Because the moment that, say, a team member shows up 3 minutes late with 5 people less than who they promised, you're done. You're through the roof. And now the next time, they don't even want to be a part of anything that you're putting together because of the result that you've now.
They're like,
this is ridiculous.
Don't make him mad because he'll turn green and like sprout muscles every which way.
Exactly. And so that's why the explosive is just equated to the Incredible Hulk. You know what I mean? Like, you are going to go from
0 to 60
in 0.2 seconds. You know what I mean? It's going to be really quick. And typically, I can speak from experience on this. And when I read this kind of person, the way that he describes these people, it's pretty profound because how in detail it is and how right on it is. And so right after, typically the explosive type of behavior, they're ashamed immediately after their out of control burst. Yeah. It's not like they're proud. It's not like they're sitting here saying, hey, you know what? I just did this. I made this person cry, or I just blew up on this, and I just did, whatever it may be. They're not out there feeling good about it. That we can guarantee you about. You know what I mean? Like they typically are going to go back and feel remorse. They're going to a high degree of self-loathing. Yeah. Which causes them to lash out in anger again.
Yeah, because most of the time that an explosive person is exploding on you, like 9 times out of 10, it actually has nothing to do with anything you did. It has nothing to do with anything that's going on between the two of you. It's always something from like an outside source in that explosive person's personal life that's just being, unfortunately for you, being directed towards you simply because you're at the wrong place.
And that's where the empathy comes in. Empathy can be used in all of these, even though there's only a few of them where we actually use the word empathy as what to do in a situation when dealing with these people. The explosive person, if you can relate to them and you can actually get them to a point of understanding that you get that, she said, the core issue. Because like we said, the explosive person, they're not mad at you. They're not mad at what happened. They're probably upset because they didn't get something done that they expected of themselves to do. And now they just don't know how to transfer that energy.
Yeah.
And so typically with not knowing how to, transmute certain things, emotions, it tends to build into frustration, which builds out lashing out, and then you just can't get over it. You know what I mean? It tends to get into people to quit your teams. You will not be able to communicate with people if they feel that they can't come to you with their problems.
Yeah. Well, will you make sales? Yeah. Can you get team members to come and join? Yeah. But will they be consistent and stick around? Absolutely not.
No, you won't be able to get down to the root of their problem because they're not going to be comfortable coming to you. And so the next one is...
Well, something I was going to mention real quick that's really important if you've got explosive people in your life that you're dealing with is if you've realized it, which hopefully you have, when you use words like when they're in the midst of their explosive tirade, if you use words like, okay, well, just calm down, stay calm, like just chill out, relax, like phrases like that, only escalate the situation and make them become more explosive.
She's telling the truth.
Yes, because for a while when Brandon would explode, I would say phrases like that, like, honey, just calm down. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, we can totally work through this. And even though I'm saying it in a gentle tone and I'm viewing my tone as an understanding place, point where I'm coming from, to him, he is just hearing complete dismissive behavior. He's hearing, okay, well, like, just get over it, basically. Like, using words like relax and calm down is essential to that explosive person, as if you had just said, okay, well, just get over whatever it is that's bothering you. Like,
and that goes to big deal with the people who are calling you that are asking you for your team. Because like she keeps, and I don't know why, she keeps using us as an example right now for a relational. We're talking about business, and we're talking about how this is going to help you guys create more money. So when people call you and they say that I don't like your product, I don't like the way that you just did this, instead of you just being like, okay, this person's just an a-hole, and I'm not going to get to the bottom of this. That's not the way it is. We actually help people dig deep through a series of questions that we provide you. People that are on our team, they get a detailed series of questions, a list of questions that ask these people to dig to their core. so that by the end of them being angry, they'll most likely be crying and eating out of your hand because of the fact that you've asked them these questions that no one has ever asked them.
Yeah, and not because you're being manipulative. Like, we're not talking about making the person cry because you're manipulating them.
No, we're talking about just getting them to realize something that they've never seen inside themselves before, the reason why they're reacting that way.
Yeah, or something that they already know, but they just can't, they've never been able to admit out loud before.
And when that happens inside somebody, you have a loyal member for life.
Yeah. Because
there's nothing better than seeing that transformation. And that transformation happened for us, or happened for me before I got involved with this opportunity, but like, I'm still working on it. Does that make any sense? So I mean, like, it's never ending work on itself, but this is going to be for all of them. You're always going to have those people that came into your team or into your business that are like these people that, okay, you're going to look back and go, okay, I remember how he was worse than that, but he's getting better. You know what I mean? Then you just have to go back to communicating in the same way that you did in the beginning. People are always going to have setbacks. They're always going to have fallbacks. And as long as you don't give up on them, as long as you just stay with it and you know that, hey, look, you know what? This is human nature. Yeah. And I'm here for you. Let's get to the root of the problem.
Yeah, because it is possible for you to have people coming into your business who at first are not difficult people, but because they may be experiencing struggles or challenges in their business that they've yet to overcome, that can lead them to becoming difficult people. And all of a sudden you're looking at them like, what just happened? Like, I loved you. Now you're kind of like, what? I don't think I want to deal with you right now.
Yeah, we still have a lot to get through. So the rigid, you want to tell them about the rigid?
Yeah, the rigid is basically known for being, when they hear the words like contradiction and change, they literally, you see them go, they get rigid. Like, you can feel it. They avoid looking at like the big picture because they don't want to see life that way. Like, they don't want to see it that big. They want to focus on their little bubble. You know, they take longer to respond, which makes it very difficult to work with, especially with like a really fast-paced business, or you're waiting on them to report back to you before you can move forward.
Yeah, if you're third down in line, right? Say you have to report, you have 3 people working with you, and the big wig is telling you that you have to have this project done by this time. Now, anybody who works with teams knows that if you have somebody who lags getting back to you because they don't like change, they don't like the way you do things, they don't like the way you teach, they don't like the way you talk, who knows?
Right.
But yeah, there's so many different variables into this. But they will then, those are the kind of personalities that will stall the whole team. They're the kind of people that will say, well, you know what? Screw it.
Yeah.
You know, and those are people that are very difficult to deal with.
Yeah. And normally we tell you that when it comes to working with difficult people, that you should always be empathetic with people. But when it comes to rigid people, like, if you've ever experienced a person like this, you've noticed that empathy like will literally get you nowhere. It's like talking to a brick wall. It just kind of makes things worse. And so what you should do instead of trying to be empathetic towards them, you should, which may be difficult for you, but try and talk to them in their language. Like, try and come to them from like their perspective, and, you know, which is basically a perspective of being detached and facts, and like they're very oriented towards facts and figures. Right. So instead of trying to play on their emotions, go at them more from like an analytical standpoint.
Yeah, you're never going to get them to take action into your team or into your business by saying that they're going to build a life of freedom.
Yeah. Nope.
Okay, you're not going to get that into there. They're not interested in that. They need to know, okay, well, how much money am I going to make next week? Because according to my calculations, I've got to make $3,000 a month, which is, you know, however much per day. But if you tell me that it's that way, it's wrong, and I'm going to be right. And if you tell me I got to change the way that my habits are, I'm not going to like the system anymore. You see what I'm saying? So it gets to be very difficult. But if you get to the core of why they don't like change, right? Ooh, highlight, right? That's the big thing right there. So when you're dealing with those kind of people, figure out what it is that they're so afraid of. Why is it that they don't want change? If they can't answer you, then you can't move forward.
And
you know what I mean? It's very difficult.
We have a product that taught us how to affect a person's beliefs and changes, because usually what happens is someone has with a rigid person, they have a specific belief which makes them rigid. And if you can go through the same training we went through, right, you'll be able to walk this person through a process to where you can get them to a point in the conversation where you can ask them, okay, well, I see that you believe this. Just let me ask you a question and just be honest. Has that belief helped you in the long run, or has it been harmful to you? Has it helped you, or has it sabotaged you?
And leave them making excuses.
9 times out of 10, they'll either go with making excuses, which you can, which we teach you how to divert from, or they'll have that self-realization.
Which is the 9 out of 10 that she's talking about.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's the 9 out of 10.
I've been holding myself back this whole time simply because of this one little belief. And then we can walk you through a process of going and shifting that to a more helpful belief.
That's right.
But another difficult type of person to deal with, and we all know a person like this in our
Yeah,
business
we've all been like
or our
this.
life.
We've all been like
Or
this at least
yes,
one time.
exactly, where we've had
Let's
like
just
a
be
moment
honest,
in the
man.
sun
Come
where
on,
we
we
were
all
like
love
this.
each other here.
But it's the self-importance,
It's
right?
boom.
You know, one of those people, the name already pops in your head. I can see it. As far as like the self-important people, the way they behave and operate is from a place where they see the world only from their perspective. Like that's it, because no one else's perspective is important or valuable. They usually act that way as like a means to protect themselves from showing their true feelings. And it's usually to keep from showing their feeling of inadequacy or insecurity. And they're usually very preoccupied with being the show off, right? Because they're trying to distract you from their real insecurities. And what happens is self-important people love being validated with their self-importance.
Yes.
Like they love it. Very egotistical.
And these are the people that are going to end up most likely when you go ahead, and we've learned this in our own business, but okay, say you bring somebody into your business and you have your way, your method of doing things with your business, right? They've taught you success methods of sales or advertising, whatever it is. And you have this person who now comes into your business and they take everything that you just learned and then they try and take away from what the core message is, regurgitate it in a way that kind of
makes you nauseous.
Makes it not right? It's not doing it justice, just so that they could get the credit for the training and take away from the source. So now they become the message rather than delivering the message.
Yep.
And
we talked about that yesterday.
That takes away so much trust from your people, because they're going to look at you and go, why the hell does he need to have all of the credit? I just gave him an idea. He made a product about it. And I don't get it. Why are we not sitting here and working together? He has to be the big time show.
Yeah. And if there's a self-important person in your team right now that's pulling all of the attention away from the group message, then what's happening is more important than just say like this person stealing an idea so he can get credit from one team member. That trickles and ripples out to the rest of the teams, because if that one team member whose idea got stolen, right? If they go into the group and they're talking about how, well, this person over here who's saying it was his idea, he actually stole it from me, that can have a very negative ripple effect with your team, because then it's going to get to a point where people are not going to even want to produce ideas to move the team forward, because they're going to be so afraid of having their creativity and their ideas stolen by a showboater.
And if you listen to that, I think that it's true that people think like that. Don't get it wrong. But if you follow Gary Vee and you understand that the ideas, there's too many of them.
Yeah.
So if you feel that somebody stole your idea, it's because you didn't take action on it yet. That's all it is. So you can't really be mad at them if they actually did something with it. But what you can say is that, you know what, they're making it about them and not about the message that you created about. That's where the self-importance comes in, because there's always a bigger message behind what people are doing. And if that gets taken and internalized and you kind of idle yourself and you're like, you know what, I am the reason why this happened. I am the reason why I'm making this money.
Or I am the reason that these people are making money.
It tends to trickle down, and people will start to just look up and go, oh, this guy's gross. I made a mistake by joining this person. And I want to get out of this business as soon as possible.
And that's usually when you see a lot of members in your team jumping ship to a different team within your same company.
And so what should you never do? Now, this is a lot more difficult to do, or it's easier said than done.
99.9% of human race.
But you can't take it personally. Yeah, you cannot take it personally.
Yeah. So instead of taking it personally, what you should give an attempt to do is separate yourself from the behavior of that person. And if that means you have to actually disconnect from that person, period, like point blank, altogether, then do it, because it's going to be best for you. It's going to be best for the team. It's going to be best for the overall big picture. Another thing you could do that's really important is, before separating yourself from that person completely, is maybe take a second to ask about their work or their activity. Because if you can get that person talking, usually a self-important person has no problems with being the talker.
If you want to go even one step further, instead of separating yourself, separating the person from the behavior. So being able to understand that the person is not the behavior. A person can be, self-important, right? And that could be the behavior that he's participating in, but he could be a great person. So as long as you could separate that, then you can get to the core issues, which could make him a non-difficult person, which in turn, he could be a top producer. You don't want to turn away these people just because they're difficult, because they could be great people who are top producers in your company.
That's a good point.
So you just want to make sure that you always want to, differentiate the behavior from the person.
Yeah.
And so untrustworthy. Now, this is where we get, in the industry that we're in, there's so many people who look from the outside in who have never been in business for themselves who go get a real job. I don't trust you. Tell me things that I don't. There's just too many people out there that feel like what we're doing is untrustworthy, when I laugh at that, because there's more people that are working for quote unquote scam artists, okay, as bosses. You know, like they have people that they go into their work, okay, like for McDonald's, corporate America, they've never seen their boss. They've never
know what their actual CEO looks like.
They don't know who he looks like. They've seen a signed check, and they know that if they don't show up at 9 o'clock on the dot, they lose their job. That seems like I wouldn't trust the person who hired me if they're not even going to get to the core issue on why I'm not moving numbers or why I'm not excelling in my job. If they're not going to take time out for me, I feel like I can't trust that man. That's the way that I feel. That's just my value set. But then you look at society and typical America, and they go, no, that's my job. He pays me. Since he pays me, you trust him?
It's secure. Like what you're doing is very insecure. You never know when you're going to get paid. I know what I'm going to get paid.
Yeah, so I trust the man that pays me. And you're like, that's
even
though
the chance, if you were to compare the statistics on the opportunity for someone to go from bottom level in their corporation to CEO or to like top producer of the business, the likelihood of that happening, especially without a degree, or knowing the right people, or just having like all these elements in place for you, like it's not going to happen. I
think you have a better chance of hitting the lottery. Honestly.
Yeah, which is like 0 to 9.
Which is probably why people play the lottery.
Yeah,
they heard that statistic and they're like, you know what, I'd rather.
And that's the real pyramid scheme, guys. Is whenever you start at the bottom and the percentage is stacked against you for you moving forward, versus when you go into an opportunity like that we went into. Or you go into something involved in the internet marketing or the network marketing or affiliate marketing opportunity, where you actually have more chance, a higher percentage of ranking as high as you can go in that company to possibly being a stock owner of that company based off your actual efforts. Like the only person who would be standing in your way at that point is just simply you.
Right. So what do you not do when you have this person, when you're dealing with an untrustworthy person, what do you do? What do you not do?
What do you not do? What you not do is you don't blow up and use personal words.
So don't go back to the explosive type.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't revert to the explosive type when you're dealing with an untrustworthy person.
Yeah. Leave the word you totally out of this. Like it's very easy because we build this into a habit to say to a person like, you know, you're, as far as like being an untrustworthy person, usually that's someone who's lying all the time. So it would not be beneficial for you if you were to go up to this person and say like, you're no good liar. Like you're good for nothing except for lying. No, that's going to make things so much worse.
Yeah, the whole you, about the you.
That has, with an untrustworthy person, the word you has so much weight, especially if it's used in a very negative connotation. It's just going to sink them further into solidifying that the way they're acting is, ironically enough, better for them. So don't take it personal. Or like with using personal words like you, don't blow up at them. Instead, again, like Brandon said with the last type of difficult person we talked about, try and separate that behavior from that person and do it very delicately. Okay. You gotta do it very delicately. Very delicately. So if you're dealing with someone who is, you know, who's always exaggerating, who's always lying, who's always like, you know, hyping up things, right? You're usually dealing with an untrustworthy person who's causing people to come in with false expectations. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and hurry through these. I know we did it again to you guys. Yeah, this is a lot of information. We're sorry, guys. Yeah, we thought we could get through this a little bit faster. Yeah. So next is the antagonist. So hopefully you guys have been taking notes. So next is the antagonist. And this is basically the traits of this are going to be people who you've seen ignoring. And this could be, this could lead to unfriendliness, to rudeness. It's usually led by sarcastic and bickering. And they feel like a lot of the time, that's the only way they can get results. And me personally, this meshed with the explosive behavior was pretty much where I was at for a long time. Yeah, because they both leave people feeling incredibly emotionally drained. And it doesn't get anything that you want to accomplish. So actually the people who are in this category, the antagonists, they're not accomplishing what they are intending to accomplish just because they're who they are, if that makes any sense. So if they change their approach, if they change the way they deliver their message, they don't become an antagonist anymore. And that means that people can actually understand their message. And when you are that antagonist,
when you're bringing people in as antagonist, or when you're bringing into your company and those people are the antagonists, you never want to battle back with more aggression. Okay, you never want to do that. That's going to create that friction, like she said, create that fire, and they're going to go somewhere else. And that other person that they go to, guess what they did? They went to our hangout, they learned this message, and they're going to get them to make money. And now they're going to look at you and go, well, you know what? It wasn't the system. It wasn't this. It was you. It was you not taking time to learn why I tick, what makes me work. You know what I mean?
Why are they behaving in a very antagonistic
And that's where the business is going in 2015. All these people who are just spam artists who sit there and just do what they want to do because, well, I seen it work in 1985. You know what I mean? Like those people, they're not going to last.
No,
they're not. In 5 years, in a year, in 6 months, whoever knows, but they're not going to last.
And those are the ones who you see going in groups online everywhere, every which way from Sunday, being like, oh, all these opportunities are scams. Like they never do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah,
like it's because they're antagonists and they just did that to themselves.
They always are focused on the problem, always focused on just being negative, you know, bringing things in. The one example is, like when we moved to Texas, okay, we're moving to Texas. Now there's a lot of people who, just in case, I want to share with you one last story before we go on to the next difficult person, but we moved to Texas in a few months, right? And in doing so, I've shared this and expressed this with a few people, or with quite a bunch of people. And I would say the majority response, which is really weird, the majority response is like, oh, well, don't you know it's like hot? I'm in Vegas. I live in Vegas, okay? I live in Las Vegas. They're like, well, don't you know it's hot?
Yeah.
Well, don't you know it's rains there? Well, don't you know it's humid? Well, don't you know it's this and don't you know it's that? And
you're not a country boy, you're a city boy.
Yeah,
like assuming that all of Texas is like slowpoke country.
And so it just made me wonder, like, okay, that's the antagonist right there. And you're going to get those people inside your business. When you go and you say, you know, I have a great campaign idea and it's going to create a lot of money for us. Let's mastermind. Let's create what we need to create, build what we need to build, and promote what we need to promote so we can make some money. And they go, oh, well, that's not going to make that much money.
Yeah.
And you go, well,
that specific strategy is not
and you're laughing because you're like, did you just say that much money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it's not going to be that easy.
Yeah.
And you're like,
these are also the ones that don't provide solutions. They just will pinpoint problems, but never actually give like an idea of what they think would be better.
It's crazy. So the way that you get through to them is you want to ask them questions that's going to dig deep to the root. That's how you get through them. You should be able to ask them core questions that are going to get them understanding their why, you know, their motivations, their deep desires, where they see themselves. Those are things that are going to get through to that person. Okay. And so the next one is the dampener. You want to tell them about that? We all
know about the Debbie Downers.
Oh, man.
That's what these are. Basically, the dampeners, they come with a gigantic package of super annoying habits and traits. like Brandon was talking about with our example of moving to Texas. Like we had a mixture of people being like very antagonistic and being very dampening about, you know, just total Debbie Downers about the whole thing. And what ends up happening with these people, why they behave that way, is because it's usually from a lack of self-awareness, right? They usually will provide very little eye contact with you when they're in conversations face to face. They're always looking to counter every single thing you say, like everything. And they're always really good with detail, but they'll bore you with unnecessary facts and figures that totally kill the energy of the situation. So one thing you should never do with a dampener or a Debbie Downer is engage with them. Like it's so easy for us to get caught up with trying to move them from being a Debbie Downer to being like more Susie Sunshine. And that's just going to make things totally like much worse, because they're in this situation, they're in this attitude because they want to be there. So trying to engage with them to come out of it is just going to make them dig further deep. What you should do instead is not start up a conversation with one of these, which is very difficult, right? But this is one of the main reasons why we emphasize so strongly with our team members and our clients to implement a filtering or a pre-screening process of new members that they bring in, so that you can specifically pinpoint before you bring them into your team the Debbie Downers.
Yes. And
then at that point, if you think that, you know, if you feel it's a good move for you to bring them in, then by all means bring them in. But we recommend sticking with a very rigid pre-screening process and letting them know that the opportunity will always be there for them when they're ready to come in with a different attitude.
Correct. And that's one we've had actually, we've had to turn some people down. And the reason why I was just so eager to jump in on that was people from the outside world who aren't aware of what it takes to start a business, who just see or come across an ad or come across your business through a link or whatever it is that you've done to get yourself out there, they've never been exposed to this kind of lifestyle before.
Yeah.
So when they come into your business and they go, okay, well, this is just not what I expected. You know what I'm saying? And it starts to just build and build. And I totally lost my train of thought. I think she saw my mind going blank.
And I wish I could jump in, but
But,
I know where you're going with that.
Oh man, my mind went blank. I'm so sorry. But yeah, either way, never engage with the dampening. Okay, that's number one. Okay. And then you should not sort of, okay, yes. And
Yeah.
I was talking about the pre-screening of the members. Yes, that's what I was gonna say about so many people from the outside. They think that they could just come across your link and come across our link. And I'm speaking in general terms right now, but they feel like they could just get access to our business and work with us immediately, no matter what they've done, because they found a link.
Yeah, or the fact that they're not going to do anything with it, period.
That is not true. We've had people that have gone through the process and have failed to do small commitments of
We're
progress.
talking like answering the phone when we call them back.
Exactly. That will actually prevent us from working one-on-one with you. Now, can you still get access to the products and still get access to getting better and do things on your own? For sure. Is it going to be a little more difficult without the help? Yes. And that's why we choose who we help with. Our time is valuable, just like we know yours is. And so with dealing with these difficult people and understanding that you're in control of your business, you get to decide on who you get to work with. The reason why we made this for you and we had such a fun time doing it was because there's too many people in the world to turn away right now that are not difficult.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with these people, and you've got to learn a strategic manner that aligns with who you are, that can get them from that difficult spot in their life to a non-difficult spot where they're producing and making money, to where they can look at you and go, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to do this for me. You know what I mean? And not a lot of people in this business are doing that. So I just wanted to make that clear, that just because you found a link, or just because people found a link into your business, doesn't mean you have to work with them.
Yeah.
That's not what that means. You know what I mean? So you're not going to get sued or something like that, you know?
And that's something, again, really important to pay attention to, guys, is that, we mentioned this earlier, difficult people are broken people. There's something in their lives that's affected them negatively to the point where they're behaving that way. But it's also valuable to realize that when it comes to these difficult people, that they may not be difficult because they had some big tragedy. It may just be that they've grown to be a difficult person because it seems like no matter how much effort they put into something, they just can never get ahead. And that can cause a lot of people to become difficult, if not just downright bitter. So that's also something to pay attention to when you're approached with a difficult person, is remembering that either they're a broken person, right? Or there's someone who has exerted tons of energy into getting somewhere different, and for the life of them, they can't get ahead.
Been stuck in the mud.
Yeah, and that's come on, guys. Like, we've all had one of those experiences, and it's annoying.
It is.
Just think of how it is for that person. And
So,
like, we're wrapping it up, guys.
Wrapping it up, last one
The
right
final
here.
one is the extrovert,
Exactly.
right? The crazy ass extrovert, the one who's got extreme hunger for attention, the one who's like the major show off of the
I
group.
was like that in school. Okay,
Yes.
after school, we call this is a very immature state. Okay, very immature state. And I'm just saying, I can say that because I still love being out there, and I love being able to talk to people and put myself out there. You could say I'm outgoing, but I'm not that kind right now that we're discussing here, where it's an extrovert to a point of annoyance.
Yeah.
To where it's a point of where you bleed into other people's lives, something that they do not want to be a part of.
Yeah. When you are a type of extrovert that grows from just being like, fun and outgoing, to being someone who shows that they lack empathy, someone who is known as high maintenance, like, that's gross. If you've got someone who's in your team who's high maintenance, it's probably because they're an extrovert. Someone who is extroverts are very narcissistic in their core essence, right? They're doing it to bring attention to them, which helps feed their ego, which makes them feel better. They're always talking about themselves. They're always bringing the conversation back to them. And they're really stinking bad at picking up on nonverbal cues that they're being annoying.
Right? Yeah, so they're going to keep on talking and talking and talking. You can
and they're going to keep being like all up in your face. And no matter how much you do this, or no matter how much you like this, even if you do that, they'll probably still try. So what you should never do is attempt to what we call like prick their balloon, right? Don't ever try to pop their balloon in terms of trying to get them to deflate. Be very careful when you criticize extroverts. Can you? Yes, but you've got to be very delicate with the way, and very diplomatic with the way that you bring about that criticism. What you should do is acknowledge that that person is valuable. They do have worth. Flatter them a teensy bit, not a whole lot, but just enough to feed their ego to where they calm down a little bit. And then ask them to do things that will let them shine. Like, let that person have a healthy experience with being in the limelight.
Which is a great idea for you folks right now who are introverts, who are just recruiting the heck out of these extroverts. Okay, now to hold on meetings like this where you're online, extroverts usually don't have a problem. It's like, okay, well, I could just be in front of a computer. It's not even real. You know, this thing isn't even real. You know, it's not a person.
Yeah.
Okay, but when you actually can get these extroverts to do things for you and for your business, it's not using them, it's getting them to shine where their strength lies.
Yeah.
And so these people, they love to get into the middle of the thing. If you can get them to make your videos for you,
let them make your videos.
Let them make your videos for you.
Because if the idea of making a video or doing something like what we're doing with you guys right now, we're hopping on these online hangouts 6 days a week. If the thought of that makes you just like want to throw up, then maybe you should take a look at people you have in your team who are the exact opposite of that. Give them the information, let them run with it, because then not only are you supplicating what you're not comfortable with right now,
they actually want to do it.
But yes, you're feeding their ego just enough to put them in a healthy environment to make them shine. You're giving them an opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? I see you're valuable. I see that you are great at this. So I'd love to put you in this situation. Can you handle that for me?
Which allows you to talk to them with their guard being down, which will allow you to move them past that egotistical state into a non-difficult state in a much shorter time.
Yep, super fast.
Okay, so this is really huge, because actually I believe, if I were to guess, I would think that there's a lot more extroverts out there than any other one of these people. I would say that and the explosive type, honestly, just because of the way that America and society has kind of said, you know what,
push people to become.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, for a long time, I mean, now it's you know, be kind, but for the longest time when we were growing up, it was, you know, it was
put yourself out there, get out there, like go be in the
vulnerability is weakness, you know, and you don't want to put yourself out there. You want to be able to say I'm strong, whether you believe it or not, and that's what a lot of extroverts do. They put on a show because they feel these insecurities on the inside that they feel, if they let the people or the world know, that they're going to get looked at as weak, as somebody who isn't who they are. You know what I mean? And that's why we need to be able to break down to the core issues of these people so that we can get them to making money, so that you guys can get to make money in your business. That's what this whole thing is about, is taking these people from a point of non-production, because they're difficult as hell, to a point of mass production and top producers. You know what I mean? Because then your business, your legacy, it becomes pretty simple to run. All you kind of do is got to manage a few things.
Yeah.
You step out, you enjoy your life as you wish.
It's the reason why you started this in the first place. It wasn't to babysit these difficult ass people who want to make you pull your hair out.
You know,
it was so you could go live on the beach for the weekend, or for the week, or the month, or the year, whatever.
Many retirements.
Yeah, we love those. So hopefully you were taking notes. Hopefully, if you've got to rewind this and go through, so that, you know, maybe if you missed cues on behaviors for difficult people that you have that can help you with growing your team, feel free to go back and watch this.
It'll be on Facebook for a day, for about 24 hours.
About 24
but it'll be on
hours.
YouTube. You can find it on YouTube if you haven't subscribed to our to her channel or our channel. I think it's Sarah Bigby.
Click Sarah Leanne Bigby. Yeah.
There you go.
And if you've got any questions about what we went over in this hangout, right? If you need like a little bit more detail, that's totally cool. Feel free to leave a comment if you're watching this on our Facebook page. Leave a comment below if you were watching this on Google+, same thing. Feel free to reach out. If you feel like what we shared with you was valuable and you realize like, holy crap, like I actually have a lot of these people that I'm dealing with, and you would like a little bit more help or clarification with how you can go about dealing with these people, again, feel free to reach out. We're not afraid to be there for you guys. We're not afraid to help, you know, provide you with information that you can take action on to help you get to a better place in your business.
We make ourselves readily available for you guys. And for those who did find massive value in today and have been coming back and just loving what we've been able to put down for you guys, because we are excited. We are happy to be here for you guys every day. I mean, there's some things that come into our mind that we could honestly be doing something else right now. You know what I mean? But we are excited to be here sharing some valuable insight with you that's going to help you guys break through that next level in your business to hopefully get you to see that desired level of success that you've been seeing for yourself for probably a matter of years now. And so right now we wanted to give you an opportunity. We want to invite you to work with us, okay? We want to invite you to work directly with us. This isn't anything that's going to get you going on your own. This is something that we will work with you directly on. And we're not providing this for just everybody. It's for the next 5 people who take action. Okay, this is for today and only for the next 5 people only. And what we're going to give you is not only the opportunity to work with us, But we're going to give you also the free one-on-one coaching session, or like we said yesterday, we have to work on this. It's 2-on-1, so we both of us there. But a one-on-one coaching session from us and with both of us. And
it'll be about a 15 to 30 minute, basically like game plan call.
Yeah.
We'll ask you a few questions. We'll put you through a more condensed version of our screening process where we can get an idea of where you're at in your business right now, where it is you want to go, and what's keeping you from getting there, so that we can build a game plan to give you for the next 90 days on how to get you from A to B. And we also give you access to one of the tools that we recommend for every single one of our new members or clients to help them expand the growth of their business.
That's it. And you don't want to miss out right now, because like we said, right now, this is a value of $197 right now for the coaching call, for the 90-day game plan, the in detail step-by-step guide to get you to making more money in your business. Okay. Now, this is only, like we said, for the first 5 people who take action, only for today.
And we will get notifications, guys.
Yeah. So
we'll know
now
who you are.
I think the button's live over here below, like we mentioned below.
If you're on Google Plus, it's going to be over there. If you're on Facebook, it's going to be down there.
And so, like we said, for $25 today, it's not going to be $1,000. It's not going to be $197. It's for $25 today. You can go ahead and join with us in what we have been able to accomplish, and so that we can take what we know, team up with you, share with you all that we know, so that you can start making more money in your business, or for the first time ever online. Maybe you haven't even been in business yet, and you're just like, you know what? I want to get started making money, because I see these guys have taken their life of struggle from restaurant servers who are making $50 a day to creating an income online so that they can be the main influence for their daughter right now as we speak. Okay, so it's just awesome to be a part of, and we're so happy that you spent the day with us today. We ran
Thank you for sticking
a
around.
lot longer than we had planned again.
We really honestly intended to condense this in 30 minutes, and we apologize for running over. But to be honest and fair, this was a lot of really valuable information.
And we hope you found it as well. So make sure to come back tomorrow, 3 p.m., right? I forget what we're talking about.
Tomorrow we will be talking about hosting virtual home parties and how implementing virtual home parties can actually generate 2x, 3x, if not upwards of 10 times more production and sales for your business than hosting live home parties.
There you go.
I was about to say hotel for some reason. I'm sorry. Same thing.
Enjoy your day, guys, and come back tomorrow.
See you
We'll see you then. Take care.